a lot of work is put in legislative work, but nobody ever appreciates it. And not even members of the public out there imagine that you only come here to speak for 5 minutes and vote without having applied your minds and put in a lot of work. Members of the Finance and National Planning Committee sat this morning until 5 a.m. from last night. And we must indeed commend the chair. You can see the chair is not looking his usual self. He looks a bit sleepy. If you also look at his vice chair, who was here as early as 9 a.m. together with the member for Keses, they all look sleepy, and the member for Baringo North. They look sleepy because I can see the Honorable Ariko. Actually, he was almost on the verge of sleeping off, because these members and many other members, including the Honorable Mboni, who is still in the House, sat up to 5 a.m. this morning to be able to finalize with this work and be able to give us the kind of output they have given us, and I must commend them. Honorable Speaker, as the chair has said, and the mover, this bill speaks to very important issues. And I know, just like we had with the Business Laws Amendment Bill, members who never take time to interact with legislation pick up things from social media and speak to those issues as if they are things that are factual. And when you are a member of parliament, you speak about unfactual things in a manner that makes people believe that you know what you are speaking about. Like I had a member here speaking about avocado farmers in the previous bill on business laws. I think it was a member for Katanga. And clearly you can tell that is a member who has not taken his time at all to interact with the bill or even to bother to read the committee's report that was tabled yesterday. And if the member for Katanga had read, he would not use prime national TV time to mislead the public, to play populist politics, Honorable Speaker. And I thank the chair of the committee, because he came down very fast. We were watching him from my office, and he came down very fast, and he has responded to those issues as he responded. Honorable Speaker, many issues that were raised by members of the public, and that's why I was keen on having the mover of the bill speak to the issues that were raised by members of the public during public participation. Because even the courts have told us that public participation should not be superficial. It must be quantitative and qualitative. And the qualitative bit of it is being able to show members of the public that what you told us during public participation, we have taken those issues into account as we legislated, as we passed the bill. Therefore, we are not debating this bill in its original form. We are debating it in its original form as informed by the committee with what they have done. And I also wish to speak to a few things that the committee has spoken to. The digital service tax, Honorable Speaker, that was proposed, the committee is proposing in their report, for those who have bothered to read the report, to remove this digital service tax. For the simple reason that, for instance, as the chair would have told you, if you are selling iPhones online and somebody else is selling their iPhone from a shop, an establishment in town, if you happen to be charged the digital service tax that was being proposed, then nobody will be selling anything online. Everybody may opt to go and open up establishments or shops in town to sell where you not pay. And therefore, the committee is proposing that we remove that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on air tickets again, on passenger, VAT on passenger air tickets. Again, the same thing. If I am running a tours and travel business in Nairobi, and somebody else is running the same business in Arusha, or I have a branch in Arusha, if you put VAT on that air ticket in Nairobi, I will opt to simply process the ticket online and charge that ticket from my Arusha office, and we'll be driving away employment from our country. And the committee diligently and with a lot of foresight have removed some of these things to do with air ticketing, VAT on air ticketing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, many of our people are selling, and you've seen vendors selling tiles along our major roads, everywhere that people new housing schemes are coming up, or new settlement areas. If you go to Kitengela, Honorable Speaker, if you drive along Kiambu Road, if you drive along Kambura Mutarakwa Road, you will see very many small shops, hardware shops that have cropped up. And many of these shops crop up from selling tiles. And therefore, the proposal that was there to impose 5%, 35% excise duty on tiles, or 300 shillings per kilo of tiles. Honorable Speaker, that would have meant for a 25 kg box of tiles, the price would have gone up by 7,500 shillings. The committee has proposed to remove that and limit that in what the committee is proposing to either 5% or 200 shillings or whichever is higher. If I remember well, the chair will be speaking to that when he moves his amendments tomorrow. Honorable Speaker, I know the committee had proposed to remove the excise duty on coal, and we are in discussions with the chair because of issues, and I know coal is used as a raw material, especially in cement production, and we do not want our cement production to go up. But rather than removing the entire tax because of issues to do with global warming and climate change, Honorable Speaker, and the issue of carbon emissions, because coal is one of the culprits of carbon emissions, Honorable Speaker. And to discourage, we are in discussions with the chair. Maybe we find a compromise where probably instead of removing entire tax, we can reduce the tax as was proposed. And I want to believe that you arrive at an agreement between the chair and the committee and the House as we move on, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have proposals that the committee has also proposed on the taxation of alcohol to deal with the question, heavy question of illicit drinks and illicit alcohol in our country. Because, Honorable Speaker, we have taxed alcohol in terms of volumes and not the alcohol content in the past. And what has happened is that we have encouraged people to move away from beers to hard liquor that is cheaper. And that hard liquor that is cheaper also tends to be very harmful to people's health, Honorable Speaker. And that is why you see people go to buy those things they call tunusu, tukwata, and that kakwata or kanusu, Honorable Speaker, the alcohol content you find for some is at a high of 70, 75, 80%. Whereas the beer that some people here enjoy, Honorable Speaker, I cannot tell you the content of milk in my tea. But I know, for instance, many beers at the rate of 4 to 4.5%. And the committee is proposing, well, I can see the Honorable Undo smiling. I don't know if he wants to disagree on the alcohol content on beer. I have considered, I do not know the content of alcohol in beer. I am not a partaker of those things. But, Honorable Speaker, I was speaking to the issue that the committee is proposing. Let us tax the alcohol content in all alcoholic drinks, so that if a drink has 40% alcohol content, tax will be higher than the tax in your ordinary beer or another drink, alcoholic drink, that has 2% or 3% alcohol. And that will generate more income, discourage people from getting into the illicit brews that have a very high level of alcohol content, and which in many instances is unchecked. Honorable Speaker, there is also the question that the committee I've seen has proposed on withholding tax, especially even on for manufacturers who are being asked to pay their withholding tax within a period, I think, of 24 hours. And now the committee is proposing that this is done within the first 5 business or working days after the end of the month. And this, Honorable Speaker, will not only allow also manufacturers to have a little bit more of working capital, but also reduce or increase the time for them to, or rather the time they have to remit this withholding tax. And, Honorable Speaker, this will be a good thing for manufacturers because, as I mentioned, they also have a little bit of more time to utilize the resources that they have withheld as part of their working capital, which will come at no cost to them. But after the 5 working days, they will be levied a penalty and interest if they do not pay. Honorable Speaker, one of the other issues when this bill was published that many people spoke about, and those who appeared before the public participation across the counties, where the chair and the vice chair led their teams in the Finance and National Planning Committee, was the question of our game parks and game reserves, that we are levying VAT on park fees. And, Honorable Speaker, I remember watching on TV one of the 2 operators telling the committee, and I'm glad that the committee agreed with them, that the animals that we go to, is it to watch or to view or to do what? The animals that we see at Masai Mara Game Reserve are the same animals that migrate to Serengeti. The lion in the Mara is the same lion in Serengeti. Therefore, if you levy park fees, VAT on park fees in Masai Mara, what will happen is that tourists will move away from Masai Mara and they will simply opt to book and go to Serengeti across the River Mara. And the wild beast migration, Honorable Speaker, you know, is the migration of those wild beasts from Serengeti to the Mara, from the Mara back to the Serengeti. It's the same animals. So we have no reason, if in the region our neighbors are not levying VAT on park fees, to make our parks more expensive than those of our neighbors, so that we don't discourage people to move to our neighboring countries. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people going to the Serengeti or other parks in the neighborhood. But of course, our Masai Mara is the best destination in the whole world. And even our neighbors know and they concede. And that is why we must encourage many tourists around the world to visit the Mara. After the Mara, then you can follow the animals into Serengeti. But you start with the Mara before you go to Serengeti. And Honorable Speaker, that is because we are the most hospitable people in the world. And it is known. And you know, we also have the most beautiful animals, including those wild beasts and lions. Honorable Speaker, the other issue I'd want to speak to, let me not speak on the issue that the chair already spoke to on the e-teams invoices and all that, some of which we had touched on in the morning, the avocados and agricultural inputs, again, that the Speaker spoke to in the other bill, the mover spoke to. But on enhancement of investment incentives, Honorable Speaker, if you look at clause 15.4, the bill also sought to reduce the rate of capital gains tax from 15% to 5% for firms certified by the Nairobi International Financial Center Authority, and further reduce the threshold of investments that qualify for the lower rate from 5 billion shillings to 3 billion shillings invested in at least one entity incorporated or registered in Kenya within a 2-year period. And additionally, the transfer of investments must occur after 5 years from the date of the initial investment. And Honorable Speaker, this speaks to the whole policy of seeking to attract more investments or create investment incentives for people to be able to invest in our country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm skipping so many things to avoid being repetitive and also to give others an opportunity, and therefore want to end it there. I think I've spoken to the most salient issues that I had wanted to speak to. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of gratuity. Honorable Speaker, over the past years, people have worked for years, including members of parliament who serve this house for 5 years or 10 years, and you retire, or your term comes to an end, and you are paid a gratuity at the end of your term. The committee is now proposing that Kenyans who earn gratuity at the end of their term, since that gratuity was part of the money they contributed while in active service, and they were paying taxes, it is not fair that at the end of their service, you still tax that gratuity. And therefore, that gratuity is now being exempted from tax. And honorable members, you know, even yourselves, those who opt for gratuity, other than myself and Honorable Nyikal who are on pension, or an Honorable Makali Mulu who have opted for option. For the pension option, if those who opt for the gratuity option, you will now enjoy your gratuity tax-free. And for all Kenyans, it will be that way, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the question of significant economic presence tax, I think it's important that I clarify this was for non-residents, not for Kenyan residents. And therefore, it's important to mention that. Honorable Speaker, the other important thing I would have wanted to mention was on the reliefs, both on the housing levy fund relief and the social health insurance fund relief. Honorable Speaker, before the passage, as it is today, we have no relief on either housing fund levy because they got lost with the loss of the finance bill. We have no relief on the social health insurance fund relief. And now the proposed amendments in this bill are making us get reliefs that will be tax deductible, Honorable Speaker. or actually making not just the relief. In fact, what the bill is doing is to align what was referred to in the Act as NHIF to SHIF, or the Social Health Insurance Fund, that the reliefs you enjoyed under NHIF, you also enjoy them now under the Social Health Insurance Fund. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, and the point I wanted to make, is the money we are putting back to the pockets of Kenyans. Because again, when the Finance Committee traversed this country and people told them that they are crying, that they are being overtaxed, but they want money back to their pockets. And the committee agreed, in line with what is being proposed in this bill, put back money in the pockets of Kenyans. And for every contribution now that you make either to the housing fund levy, or the housing fund through the housing levy fund, did I put it correctly? The levy that goes to the housing fund, that deduction on your payslip is now tax deductible. The contribution will be tax deductible upon passage of this bill, and that's why I urge all of you to support this bill. The contributions Kenyans are making, the 2.75% contribution towards the Taifa Care, or the social house, social hospital insurance fund, SHIF, or to the Social Health Authority, SHA, or Taifa Care. Our contributions now, the 2.75% for those of us who are on pay slips, Honorable Speaker, to Taifa Care, that contribution now will be tax deductible. That means, Honorable Speaker, that before you pay your pay as you earn, you are now almost being taxed twice, because you had to pay SHIF, pay the housing fund, then they deduct your pay as you earn. Now those will be factored in above, on top of your pay slip, before they start levying pay as you earn. And therefore that means for someone, for instance, who is earning about 100,000, you have about 3,000 shillings back to your pocket. And this is putting money back into people's pockets. And these are some of the good things we told people, Honorable Speaker, that were lost with the finance bill, because there were gains where we are putting back money back into the people's pockets. But of course, when Kenyans told us reject, we rejected everything. But because we know better, and we know what is good for Kenyans, we know Kenyans deserve some money back out of what they are paying in taxes and in contributions that they are contributing to the Social Health Insurance Fund, contributions that they are contributing to create employment in the housing fund, Honorable Speaker, and even such contributions as I spoke about in the other bill on what you call the contributions that you make to post-retirement medical schemes. These now become tax deductible. And I did mention here that those tax deductible deductions are up to 20,000 shillings a month, so that we encourage people to save in post-retirement medical schemes, to kill or to preempt the culture of dependency, Honorable Speaker. The reason why many people, Honorable Speaker, including former members of Parliament, resort to the cash transfer program when you reach the age of 65, 70, is because you never saved even post-retirement medical cover. And you find yourself, you are now sickly, you are elderly and sickly, no private insurance company will take up you for medical cover. And because you had not saved into a post-retirement medical scheme, then you are left destitute, and you are left selling your hard-earned properties to take care of your medical bills at an old age. We are now encouraging people to save and making all these deductions tax deductible, and of course, putting more money into people's pockets. Let me second, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second, as I encourage all of us to support this bill. It's quite a progressive bill, Honorable Speaker, one that speaks to the tax policies of our country, tax policies that are now trying to create equity and fairness to ensure that everybody in this country who is earning an income becomes a contributor to our tax revenues, so that we do not overburden a few people at the expense of raising revenues for our country. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second.
Very well, honorable members. I now propose the question that the Tax Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47,